Hello everyone, Kaiza here back with more Path to Nowhere. Today we are going to talk about Yingying skill and abilities. So prepare your best outfit, your bank card and ultimate pickup line because oh boy, this Wisteria Vary is just worth it. Yingying is a limited S-class arcane tendency sinner who deal magic damage. When she enters the battle, she starts with full energy, making her can use her ultimate immediately. When Yingying is on the field, Yingying enabled all her allied arcane sinner skill damage to land a critical hits. This characteristic is one of the reasons why people so hype about her. However, keep in mind that Yingying only enabled allied arcane sinner to land a critical hits, but doesn't increase the chance of them landing the critical hits. The effectiveness of this effect still based on the sinner's own crit rate and crit damage bonus. Let me explain. In Path to Nowhere, the only attack that can crit is normal attack, unless the sinner's skill and passive specified otherwise. So, what Yingying does basically is just adding this to the description. As you can see, the crit rate is still 0%. This usually applies to most sinners, meaning even though Yingying enabled allied arcane sinner to land a critical hit, they will never land a critical hit because their chance to do that is 0. So, a support like Yugu and Yelena who can give a crit rate buff will be a good partner for her. Wait, hold up. What? That doesn't make any sense. If most sinners' crit rate is 0%, then why when I tried the Suspect Pursuit, Father Blue is dealing crit like crazy? Well, that's easy. Suspect Pursuit is a way of the developer to showcase the sinner potential, so naturally the environment will benefit the new sinner tremendously. In this case, the stage buff of the Suspect Pursuit stated that the sinner's crit rate is increased significantly. So, in the situation you don't have this type of stage buff, then Yugu and Yelena going to be necessary. Okay, let's move on. Yingying Mania Intensify is damage plus 10% and another plus 10% to enemies with broken cores. This shows that aside of enabling her allied arcane sinner to land a critical hits, she will do a lot of damage. In fact, the rest of her skill and abilities is basically just Yingying doing her own thing. So let's take a look. Normal attack is called Fine Dance. It's a single target attack dealing 55 to 110% of Yingying attack within skill range. The skill range here is pretty unique, and I think this is the first time I saw something like this. Because Yingying can attack enemies behind her. Who knows, maybe this will be the future standard. Aside of that, her normal attack is count as skill damage. This will play part later on her exclusive crown brand. Yingying Ultimate has two parts, Entwine and Celestium. Let's start with Entwine. Entwine creates a Wisteria cluster in target area and lasts until the end of battle or Yingying is no longer on the field. After using Entwine, the ultimate changes to Celestium. What Celestium does is basically just move the Wisteria cluster to somewhere else. Since Yingying ultimate cost is 15 energy, moving Wisteria cluster around to fit your situation won't be difficult. In fact, that is basically her playstyle. So what is Wisteria cluster? It's this purple area on the floor. Enemies who is inside Wisteria cluster will take damage equal to 25 to 50% of Yingying attack every 0.5 second. It looks small, right? Well, the thing is, every hit from Wisteria cluster will also apply Blossom to the enemy. Blossom will reduce the enemy movement speed by 5%, and this can be stacked 5 times. So the idea is to let the enemy inside the Wisteria cluster as long as possible, preferably die within it. Damn, it sounds like one of those trap flower in real life. Nature is scary. If you want to make it more flexible, Shackle 1 Yingying will change the range of Wisteria cluster from 3x3 to a diamond shape. This path in the middle here will be your best bet if you want to kill a high HP elite enemies, since it's the longest path they will take. So make sure you place the Wisteria cluster strategically. If you Shackle 3 Yingying, Blossom can be stacked up to 8 times, making the enemy movement even slower, trapping them inside the Wisteria cluster. Both Shackle 1 and Shackle 3 is highly recommended. Passive 1 is called Endless. Every 15 seconds, Cascadum will trigger inside Wisteria cluster. Cascadum is an AoE attack dealing damage equal to 90 to 185% of Yingying attack 5 times. When an enemy dies inside the Wisteria cluster, the trigger interval will be reduced by 2 seconds up to a maximum of 10 seconds. after Cascadum activated, the trigger interval will be back to 15 seconds. Not only it deals additional damage, but this passive also has a wave clearing potential, especially in stages like Remnant of the Dead. Considering Remnant of the Dead has many small fry, Cascadum going to activate every 5 seconds. Also, if you shackle one Yingying, Cascadum going to hit 8 times instead of 5 times. Wow. Passive 2 is called Mouth Aroma. This passive gives Yingying crit rate plus 15 to 30%. Also, the lower the enemy's current HP is, the higher the damage Yingying will deal, reaching maximum when enemy HP percentage is below 20%. The maximum damage boost will be plus 30 to 60%. Yingying exclusive crown brand is called Soulful Glimpse. This is another unique one because it has both exclusive passive and exclusive ultimate. Let's start with the passive effect. Enemy with Blossom will receive 1 counter if attacked by allied Arcane Sinner skill damage. Skill damage usually refer to the Sinner ultimate or passive that do additional attack like Yingying passive 1 Cascadum. However, in Yingying case and also Fatur Blue, their normal attack also considers skill damage, which going to contribute a lot on giving this counter to the enemy. Also, if the skill damage crit, the enemy will receive 2 counter instead. If the counter reaches 10, it will deal additional damage equal to 30, 45 or 60% of Yingying attack, and for each stack of Blossom the enemy has, the damage coefficient is increased by 5, 8 or 10%. I don't think there is indicator of how many counter you currently have, so don't worry, the additional damage will be dealt automatically. And besides, you don't have to pay attention to that because you will achieve that 10 counter like crazy. I mean, look at this. And that's just Yingying and Fatur Blue. Because of this, the developer decided to limit this effect to only can be triggered 3 times per second. And even though technically this is also a skill damage, it can't increase its own counter. Now, to the exclusive ultimate. It's very straightforward. It will immediately trigger Cascadum and deal 1, 2 or 3 core damage. This exclusive ultimate can be used only 1 time per battle. The damage coefficient of this exclusive is look low at first, but considering it can be activated 3 times per second, suggests that you will be able to activate it so often that the total damage dealt from it is really high. So depend on how much damage you want Yingying to deal, then I recommend level 1 to 3 for this exclusive crown brand. The first thing you know about Yingying is probably her ability to enable critical hits for Arcane Sinner. But as I said at the beginning, the base crit rate for most Sinner are 0%, so you need to increase the crit rate by other means. First option is Yugu. Yugu offer crit rate increase up to 25% and skill damage up to 18% with her ultimate. One of the things that I like about her ultimate is it doesn't have range limitation, it's just straight up buff to everybody. Alternatively, you can use Awu, whose ultimate grant crit rate plus 30%. Slightly stronger but with range limit of 3x3 around her. The ultimate cost is higher and the duration is shorter compared to Yugu. Also, if there is a stage buff that already grant crit rate increase, like the one in Suspect Pursuit, then you can remove these two from the team. Next is Yelena, and she is really important. Yelena ultimate can offer crit rate increase up to 10% to Asena, but it doesn't stop there. Through her passive and exclusive crown brand, she also offers crit damage boost up to plus 200%, attack boost, and skill damage boost. If Yingying is your main damage dealer, you can give it to her, but if she is not, then give it to whoever your main damage dealer is. Speaking of damage dealer, well, naturally you want an arcane, and out of everyone, Fatur Blue has the best synergy. First, just like Yingying, her normal attack is considered skill damage, and her ultimate is doing multiple hits which going to help building up the counter in the Yingying exclusive crown brand. Second, her ultimate has low cost and able to deal core damage, which by far the team lacking. Having low cost ultimate also help build Yugu ultimate, but I'm not going to go for more detail because this is not Yugu guide. If you bring all 4 of them, that leaves you with 2 more slots or 3 if you don't bring Yugu. You can fill it with anyone depend on your situation with the usual staple. For buffer, you can bring Cabernet, Enfer or LL. If you need core breaker, you can bring Raven or Hecate. Healer can be Hamel, Duruo or Ariel. In wave clearer or damage, there are Hestia. 2 most important skill of Yingying is ultimate and passive 1. I believe ultimate better in a situation where there is less enemy, while passive 1 is better when there is a lot of enemies. So considering the most played content in the game is Broken Front Line and Remnant of the Dead, and they have a lot of enemies, I will take passive 1 as the first priority and ultimate second. The third priority is the passive 2, because combined with Yugo or stage buff, Yingying can easily has over 50% chance of crit rate, which not only can increase her skill damage but the normal attack itself. That makes the normal attack is the fourth priority. At this point, you probably realize that Yingying damage is comprised of multiple and fast but small damage coefficient instead of one hit big damage skill and abilities like most sinners. Not to mention, her ultimate is basically lasts until the end of the battle. Therefore, using a Crime Brand which always active for the whole fight without any condition most likely will be more optimal. Illusory Moon grant a skill damage plus 20% with drawback of reduced normal attack damage. Since Yingying normal attack is considered skill damage anyway, so the drawback is basically negated. For the third slot, you can use Heavy Contamination for damage increase or Arrival for increased crit rate. Side note, usually only bosses has S-rated HP, so you know what that means. Asura grant a shield to the wearer every 20 seconds, and when the shield is active, the wearer magic damage and skill damage increase by 15%. Since you're probably going to place Yingying in the back anyway, it's very easy to maintain the shield unless the boss has a lot of AoE attack. Year 1 Perishing Star grant the wearer HP plus 20% and attack plus 15% with drawback the wearer unable to move. The thing about Yingying is, she most likely don't need to move. The one that need to move is the Wisteria cluster. Not to mention, if enemy actually pass Yingying, she still can do a couple of hits since her range allow her to hit enemy behind her. So you can consider this drawback also negated. This next setup is good in stage where you will kill a lot of enemy like Remnant of the Dead. Pot of Doom increase skill damage by 3% for 10 seconds every time a unit die. It can be stacked 10 times, giving a potential of plus 30% damage increase if you are able to maintain it. City of Sins grant HP plus 5% and attack plus 3% for each Crime Brand set activated by the wearer, giving it a total increase of HP plus 15% and attack plus 9% with this setup. The last slot is again Heavy Contamination or Arrival. Don't worry, Remnant of the Dead usually has bosses, so you can use Arrival in it. Also, that one huge dude that's slowly moving toward Chief also has S-rated HP, so you can use it there also. And there is the new set that just released, Tethered Soul. I don't have this yet, but it looks good with the potential magic damage increase up to 30%, and if paired with Overthrown Tower, it grants a total crit rate plus 22%. Having 3 Arcane in your team also seems doable since most likely we already have Yingying and Fatur Blue on the team. So you just need to throw one more Arcane like Raven or Hecate that also can act as core breaker and magic damage amplification. If you want to add the fourth one, well, you have Yugo. But Kaiza, Yugo is an Endura. True, but when you have 3 Sinner with the same tendency, Yugo has the ability to inherit additional tendency into her own, so she will be considered as an Arcane by that point. For beginner, you can use Syndicate Glory which grant magic damage plus 15%, but the wearer damage taken will be increased by 25%. Yingying is totally fine as Shackle 0, but since she is limited sinner, I very recommend to multiple Shackle her. Shackle 1 changed the range of Wisteria cluster to diamond shape, increasing its reach or trapping the enemy longer inside the Wisteria cluster as mentioned on the ultimate section. It also allows Cascadum to deal 3 additional hits. Basically more damage. Shackle 3 increased Blossom maximum stack to 8, which going to even further slowing the enemy inside the Wisteria cluster. But the most important part is the additional effect. For each stack of Blossom, the enemy damage taken will be increased by 3%. That's a potential of 24% damage increase. And with how Yingying and her synergy works, applying a stack of Blossom can be done in no time. Now, Shackle 4. Holy. The thing about Shackle 4, you can consider it as an extra skill or exclusive Crime Brand, because it basically is. The way it works is similar to Cabernet exclusive, so here we go. When Blossom reach 8 stacks on boss or elite enemies, Dream Amulet will spawn inside the Wisteria cluster, usually under that particular enemy. Dream Amulet will inherit 30% of the enemy max HP, so let's say the monkey here has like 1 million HP. Then the Dream Amulet will has 300,000 HP. Wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Because max HP inherited will have a maximum limit, and it's equal to Yingying attack times 5000%. You think 5000% is a lot, right? Not really. My level 80 Yingying has 658 attack, so that makes 32,900 HP maximum. Now, since Dream Amulet has HP, that means you can attack it. When Dream Amulet takes damage, 100% of that damage will also be dealt to the enemy who spawned it. You can have multiple Dream Amulet on the field, but only one on the same grid. This effect also can only be used one time per enemy. Dream Amulet also will vanish if the enemy or Yingying is no longer on the field. In my opinion, I think Shackle 4 is not necessary, because it's basically just an extra one-time 30k damage, which is for boss fight with millions of HP, you can barely feel it. For elite enemies though, I think it's alright, but I still don't see it worth the hypercube. The remaining Shackle is just magic damage increase that's always nice to have. With that, we are at the end of the video. I hope you find it useful and I will see you on the next one. Till then, please take care and bye bye. Hey, do you like the video? Then please consider like, comment and subscribe. I also stream Path to Nowhere and other gacha game like Reverse 1999 and Heaven's Burn Red. So if you want to enjoy gacha game with good story, so why not join me? I will see you there. Bye bye.